Hey, this is Soundist. I just listened to D'Angelo's second studio album, Voodoo. He worked on it and recorded it in 1998 and 1999 at Electric Lady Studios in NYC, in Greenwich Village. And Electric Lady Studios is also where Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Wonder, the Rolling Stones recorded big albums. This album was released on January 25th, 2000, and it debuted at #1 on the US Billboard Top 200. D'Angelo was part of Soulquarians, which is basically a collective of black artists doing a lot of experimental music, but they also are known for pioneering neo-soul. So I think the core of Soulquarians consists of D'Angelo, who is an R&B singer and pianist, Questlove, who's a drummer, and Jay Dilla, who's a producer. And then I think James Poyser, who's a keyboardist, was also part of the core. And then some other members and collaborators were Erykah Badu, Roy Hargrove, Bilal, Pino Palladino, Q-Tip, Mos Def, Talib Kweli, and Common. So the first song on the album is Playa Playa, which was recorded in Cuba. In the beginning of the album, you kind of hear background noises that sound like a kind of voodoo ritual. And apparently they were taking pictures for the album, and they happened to capture audio from a Santeria ceremony. So it does have that voodoo ritual kind of spiritual element to it. And it really sets the tone, obviously, for the whole album. But it helps you get into that headspace. The second song, Devil's Pie, was actually chronologically the first single, so it technically was the first single, as it was actually released a year prior to the album as part of the soundtrack for the movie Belly. The song The Root stems from Jimi Hendrix influence, and Questlove and D'Angelo were listening to a lot of music by Prince, Stevie Wonder, Jimi Hendrix, and they had been jamming to Hendrix songs, and that's kind of how The Root was conceived. The song Untitled, How Does It Feel, is undoubtedly the standout single, and it was accompanied by an iconic and much talked about music video, which is really kind of sensual in nature. He kind of licks his lips in the beginning. He is shirtless, but he is wearing low-slung pajama pants that are just out of frame, and he's staring straight down the barrel, a la Cynthia Erivo. And it looks like he's standing there kind of engaging with someone, if you know what I mean. And as the end of the song comes to a climax, the visual element comes to a climax as well. The end of the song cuts off, and they were obviously recording at Electric Lady Studios that had a lot of old equipment, and so they were actually using tape to record. And so at the end of the song, the tape runs out. It makes the song cut off suddenly, and at first they were wanting to redo it because they didn't want to cut off the song prematurely, but then it was mentioned that it was similar to the Beatles' I Want You, She's So Heavy, which also had that same thing occur, and so they decided to keep it. Also, I know I'm 25 years too late, but this is my song of the summer. I'm obsessed with this song right now. Like I mentioned, this album was recorded in a place that had a lot of old equipment. They decided to record on tape with instruments and minimal production, which really lent the kind of spirit of the 70s that they were musically embedded in and influenced by kind of creep out through the music. Although D'Angelo is often attributed to neo-soul, and his first album may have had more neo-soul presentation, Voodoo definitely has a soul, funk, jazz with some hip-hop and R&B influences, but I would say that the funk, jazz, soul really stands out to me. Sonically, his voice is not as clear and concise, so he's not necessarily enunciating precisely, but I think Tyler, the creator, talked about texture in music, and I think that him not enunciating created a more spiritual element because his voice kind of sounds neither here nor there. It's kind of in this liminal space, and apparently he liked how the tracks kind of enveloped his voice. His voice wasn't on top of the music, it was just kind of covered by the music, and I think that all plays into the tone that they were setting for this album. Overall, this album is incredibly intimate, spiritual. It reminds me of incense and hot summer nights, and maybe like rolling up a blunt, and sensuality. Questlove stated it was a love for the dead state of black music, a love to show our idols how much they taught us. This was the love movement, and this was the beginning.